Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. This week, we are recapping the week's nerdy news from Action Comics #1 to the Handbook of the Recently Deceased and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me as always is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, I don't know, but if you're talking about the recently deceased, I don't know how to tie it in. I was going for some sort of spirit of vengeance, something or other, but
Steve
fell
and
flat on my
I,
face.
before we started recording, we started kind of going in depth on the character of Ghost Rider, the Marvel Comics character, and I stopped him mid-sentence and said, Steve, we should be having this conversation on mic, on the podcast, instead of one of our famous post-record conversations. Yeah, exactly. So wait, how did we bring up Ghost Rider? How did that even come up?
It was based on Frank Miller. Apparently, there's a Ghost Rider and Wolverine
crossover,
one-shot crossover, whatever they're doing, that Frank Miller's doing a cover for, and we were talking about that kind of like it got mentioned, and then we went into Ghost Rider.
Yeah, and specifically, you're talking about how neither of us have ever been super like into Ghost Rider as a character. You seem to not care about him at all. Basically, what you said. Is that correct?
It's like I don't know. I've tried to read a couple of books here and there. I've seen him in like you had mentioned, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that Robbie Reyes take on him was great, and Gabriel Luna nailed it. Yeah. But like Johnny Blaze has never done anything for me, and I don't know why. Yeah,
I think Ghost Rider looks really cool, looks super badass, like an incredible. Like, when was he created? Because he's just seemingly crazy 90s, or I could see 80s.
Yeah,
but if it's much before that, like I could see it as being like 90s. Everything needs to be extreme, but also like 80s machoism. Everything's got to be.
I want to say it was because there's been 3 different ones, so I want to say it was a good long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
Like
maybe it was 70s. He just fits the 90s extreme aesthetic so much.
Yeah, no, 100%. 1990 debut in 1972.
72. Wow, way earlier than I was going to say. Maybe late 70s, but wow, early 70s.
Yeah.
So if anyone that's listening to this doesn't know who Ghost Rider is a guy who is possessed by a demon or something, and it turns into when he's needed, called for, he transforms into a skeleton with a burning head, and he wears like a spiky, huge leather jacket and drives a motorcycle that's the wheels on it are made of fire. Like a magical demon motorcycle. So there's a lot of like we're saying, like 90s extremeness or 80s macho testosterone driven action, but apparently came out of the 70s.
Yeah, the 70s, so like cool. The original Johnny Blaze one he was like an Evel Knievel stunt rider type
Daredevil thing
guy who sold his soul to the devil to save his father, or something along those lines. And then now every night he turns into this skeletal flaming spirit of vengeance who who
was played by Nicolas Cage in 2 movies.
Yeah.
Of one of which I saw in the theater. The
other of which, by all accounts, nobody should watch.
Yeah.
So I think it got like a 38% rating.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you're into that sort of thing, go for it. But I'm going to avoid it.
I tend to think, I think Ghost Rider looks cool. I've never gotten into the character. Like you said, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the most I've ever cared about Ghost Rider, the way they did that. But I tend to think that he should just be somebody who shows up, but like I don't really need characterization of that character. Like I think, Steve, do you know this is a DC deep-ish cut? Do you know who the Phantom Stranger is? Have you ever heard of that character?
That actually sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's been around a long time in the DC universe. He has no origin story. Nobody knows anything about him, where he came from. His powers are just
Yep.
like vague, like whatever they need to be.
Deus
But
Ex,
he,
full Deus Ex Machina.
yeah, he just kind of like appears when needed. And like there was a series for a long time called The Phantom Stranger, but every story was like an anthology about like a mystery or a murder or something dangerous happening. And out of nowhere, the Phantom Stranger would appear and help the people involved, but then disappear. So every book is like an anthology, and the only thread is that this character shows up to save the day or help save the day or give information. Like he shows up in Swamp Thing sometimes just to like give the character information that he needs and then disappears. Like he's, he's literally like a phantom and no one knows anything about him. So he's also a stranger. I feel like Ghost Rider would work like that, where every story is an anthology until the main character messes up or does something wrong or accidentally summons the spirit of vengeance and then has to get away or is taken by Ghost Rider or whatever. Like I feel like that would be a cool way to use that character.
Yeah,
and
do it as like a mini, mini series of like, here's X different takes on something bad happened, and you're looking at it from the bad guy's perspective.
Yeah,
avoiding this guy.
Right.
And that's I brought it up before, but they did that in Star Wars comics with Vader.
That's right.
I can't remember the miniseries name. Wasn't Vader Down? It was after that. But they took like 5 or 6 different issues of other people ancillarily like looking at or interacting with Vader, and like one was like someone who was obsessed with Vader. The other was like someone who was being hunted by Vader. Like,
oh, cool.
So something similar where it's you're not in the shoes of the main character. Yeah,
the title character.
Right. So
yeah,
that'd be cool.
I think it would be cool.
I
and
also
like,
noticed I was not thinking of the Phantom Stranger. I was thinking of the Phantom.
Oh, the purple.
Yeah, the purple suited
comic strip guy.
guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
The pulp character.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Phantom Stranger's dressed in like a blue suit with a blue cape.
Yeah, I pulled up the picture and I was like, nope, not that guy.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. He's a cool character because it's just like whenever he shows, it just shows up. It's just like, holy shit, the Phantom Stranger. Like that's kind of the reaction that I get when I'm reading a book and he just shows up, similar to the characters in that story, like the Phantom Stranger. It's like,
where'd they come from?
Yeah, exactly. And you never know. And you never get like, it's also crazy that he's been around for so long and they've held true to the original ideas that like never give him a backstory, never give him an origin. He's just a mystery.
Yeah.
You'd never know anything about him.
It's the Yoda of DC Comics.
Yeah, right. And I was gonna say, like, who knows? There could be some great Ghost Rider books out there that really sell the character that Steve and I just haven't read. So if you have read those and we're wrong about Ghost Rider, tell us.
Yeah.
Send us an email, send us a chat, whatever. Message us on social, comment on this YouTube video. Tell us why we're wrong about Ghost Rider.
Yeah, if you really like that 90s Danny Ketch, like extreme Ghost Rider, let us know. We're open to it. It's just nothing has ever cut either of us, apparently.
One of the first comic books I remember having is an early Spider-Man, like Spider-Man number 6 of like a new run that was in the 90s or whatever, and Hobgoblin was in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Todd McFarlane was on art.
Yeah, that would make sense in that era.
Hobgoblin was in it and Ghost Rider was in it. So it was like a terrifying issue of Spider-Man. That's how McFarlane drew both of them, like just very intense. And I remember being scared of both of them in that issue, but also thinking, yeah, this Ghost Rider's cool. He's driving his motorcycle up the side of a building. That's pretty awesome. But anyway, we digress.
Well, I from that era, I can distinctly remember one of my first books from that early 90s era was a what I thought was going to be a Thor book that ended up being Thor when it was Eric Masterson, which was its own weird, wild animal of stupidity. But we made it through, and here we are.
Here we are. Part of the reason that Steve and I are comfortable taking the first 10 minutes of this podcast to talk about Ghost Rider is that it's a pretty light week for news. There's not a whole lot going on, and last week was a little bit of a light week as well. And this week is the same, almost probably maybe even less than last week. I don't really remember what we talked about last week, but
Well, last week we
um,
also had Guardians to play around with. So
yeah, that's true. We did the Guardians reaction, which is still up, and we always talk about the writer strike a lot in the
which we're
beginning.
going to talk about again today.
We're going to touch on it a little bit right now because showrunner, co-creator of the show Andor, Tony Gilroy, has officially ceased all production duties on Andor Season 2 due to the Writers Guild of America strike. Now, this was originally announced, and I forgot to mention this last week when we were talking about shows that had said that they were going to continue. Andor Season 2 was a show that had announced that they will continue production because all scripts had been written prior to the beginning of the strike, prior to May 2nd, I think is when the strike started. But it was announced that Tony Gilroy, who wrote or co-wrote a lot of those episodes, was going to continue on in his like producing duties. Apparently, he was called out a lot by other writers on social media who are more in the know than me, Steve. But people saying, if you are producing on a show that you wrote, it's there's no way you're not going to be asked to tweak a script or fix a line or something like that. Like, if you are there, they're going to ask you to do it, and it's scabbing. Like, you're crossing the picket line. There's no way around it. So I don't know if that was because of that backlash or they just had to clarify after that backlash. But it was announced that he was going to step down or just stop working in all aspects on Andor Season 2. But the article that I read is from the Hollywood Reporter. It doesn't say if the show is ceasing production, just that he's not going to be working on it.
I would assume that they're not actively filming, but maybe like if they've filmed anything, they've either got pre-production or have they? Do we know timeline? Have they started filming anything or?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I think they did. I think they started filming it in the fall.
Yeah, so they may have some posts they can start working on, or either editing or like even working with him to. I don't know. There's a whole litany of things they could do. What they will do is definitely not film more because,
yeah. I mean, and I hope not, because that's kind of what we talked about last week with House of the Dragon and Rings of Power. Like, just stop. Like, I'd rather you wait until this is resolved.
Yeah,
so that we can get a good quality product, especially the Season 2 of Andor, which is like just one of the best Star Wars things we've gotten in so long. Don't screw it up by, moving forward without Tony Gilroy on board, the creator and writer of the show. Like,
well, and on the opposite end, you have something like Rings of Power that was mixedly, we'll go with it. Received quite both positively and negatively by the fan base.
Yeah.
Do you really want your Season 2 of that to be well, let's just go with exactly what's in the script and that's that? Like, no, you're gonna you don't want to put out that product, or at least I wouldn't think you would want to put out that product.
I wouldn't think so. And same with House of the Dragon, trying to escape a legacy of a show that started great and then it didn't end up that way.
Yep.
You don't want to go down that same road in Season 2 of your show, because people will remember and start making those comparisons real quick to Game of Thrones if the quality starts slipping on that show as well. So
the Duffers did confirm that Stranger Things has been halted, as well as the Hedge Knight, which is another Game of Thrones spinoff.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because they're still writing that. They just announced that, so there's no way they can't do anything else.
Yeah, George Martin on his blog, because he's one of the writers, unequivocally said we are not moving forward with it at this point.
Yeah, that's right. I read that too.
Yeah,
I thought good for him because I was wondering, because I was like, I know he writes on a lot of these HBO adaptations. He wrote a Game of Thrones. He wrote on House of the Dragon. So like, if he's against it, then all these things must be shutting down. And yeah, I mean, this should be obvious, but no show that you like, that you are watching or are looking forward to, none of them happen if someone doesn't write them. That's like a very obvious thing to say, but you can't start pre-production until there's a script. You can't even really start with too much. Like, you can do a little bit of casting sometimes, or like character design, but like a lot of it involves what that character is going to look like and sound like, and that all comes back to the script. So like, I don't know, I feel like there's some anti-union sentiment out there. If you're like looking for it on Twitter, like there's plenty of people that think like AI is the future and writers don't matter. Like, well, you're
Yeah,
dumb for
figure that
thinking
one
that.
out.
I think AI is not the future. Writers do matter because they came up with all this stuff in the first place. And any AI thing is just going to steal from other people's ideas that, if they hadn't been you haven't been provided by an original writer, creator, whatever, wouldn't be there for your AI to steal and, develop from there. So
Yep.
I don't know. Still no word. Hasn't been any word this past week on an end or negotiations to the writer's strike, but we'll keep talking about it
Yeah,
when we hear anything about it.
I've heard mixed, none of which are going to be quick solutions.
We're looking at months,
Yeah.
easy. I think easily months, probably through the summer,
Yeah.
almost even, because, like we said last week, it's probably going to be a couple months before studios even start feeling it. But they're going to feel it for sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Especially a studio like Netflix, who has had a lot of trouble lately, or like a lot of bad press, I should say, losing subscribers, and they cancel tons of shows after 1 or 2 seasons. Like, they don't have a ton of hit content, and it doesn't seem like, I don't know, I feel like their star has fallen considerably. Netflix has.
Oh yeah. I mean, they were the apex for years.
And from things I've read, it seems like they're one of the bigger holdouts on some of these demands. I've read things that there were some points that Netflix was the only studio that was holding out, and they would have reached an agreement on some of the demands if it hadn't been for Netflix. I feel like Netflix doesn't really have much of a leg to stand on. I feel like they need things to be in production more than anybody else. They need Stranger Things. Like, what else do they have besides Stranger Things? Wednesday, fine, that's a hit show, but they're not close to being done with writing a season 2 of Wednesday. Season 1 just ended a few months ago.
Well, and they're also, every other streaming service has other IP to fall back on, whereas
exactly
they've for I guess lost all of the other rights they've got and are strictly on their own dime at this point.
I mean, that's why I mentioned Stranger Things, because that's the only original IP that's that big of a hit, I think, that I can think of. I'm sure there's something else, but
yeah, I mean,
I don't know that I'm sure there's something else I'm not thinking of, but I don't know that there's something else that is as big as a cultural watch.
You mean
like
Masters of the Universe Revelation isn't the cultural zeitgeist that it's not right up there with Stranger Things?
Hey, He-Man's got his fans, but He-Man doesn't transcend the genre the way that Stranger Things did and has.
Yeah.
And people are clamoring for that final season.
I was going to say The Witcher, but they don't even really have that now. Like, after season 3, they're going to have to recast with I think Liam Hemsworth, right?
Face? Yeah. Yep.
And who knows how that's going to go. So
right, but they can't make season 4 until the writer's strike is over. They can't. Yeah.
Jupiter's Legacy, that was a big flop.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, no. I'm just looking up various Netflix shows, and it's just like a whole lot of not much going on.
They used to have a bunch, and then shows ended and other streaming services popped up and started using their own IP. So I don't know. I feel like Netflix is very not smart to be holding out. They should want this to be resolved sooner than later. But like most studios, and I mean, Netflix certainly seems to be money hungry, because they need it. They're losing subscribers like crazy, so that's probably why they don't want to pay writers more, because they would rather give it to their CEOs, which seems to be a big reason that all of the studios are holding out, because they just want more money for their executives, which make who make tens of millions of dollars every year and say, sorry, we can't afford to pay you writers. Whatever.
Yeah.
Bunch of lion snakes. Anyway, moving on to another Star Wars story. Jaleel White announced this week that he is going to appear in Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Jaleel White. Who is Jaleel White, you may ask? Why is that name slightly familiar to me and slightly rings a bell in my
the TGIF of your
early
brain.
90s, my early 90s kid brain. Yeah, exactly. The TGIF in my mind. Jaleel White, famous for playing Steve Urkel on a show called Family Matters. He will appear in Star Wars Skeleton Crew. He's giving an interview this week, and was asked what he has coming up, and he said, I'm actually going to be in a new series on Disney Plus starring Jude Law called Skeleton Crew, coming out in November, December, and it's part of the Star Wars universe. So that's a big change for me, man. I had to do 2 hours of makeup every day. I get to play a pirate.
That's kind of
So
great.
it is kind of great. Some cool nuggets of information in there. I think, Jaleel White, he has clearly, when he was a young man, was for a while the most famous person in the world when he was on that show as that insane character. I say insane, like the character wasn't insane, but like,
dare I say caricature,
where that show started as one thing, and then the character of Steve Urkel became so popular that it changed the whole dynamic of that show.
Yeah.
Radically, where all of a sudden there's like multiple, like, it's like there's time travel and science fiction and weird like teleportation
Stefan
and shit.
Urkel,
Like,
if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
like what is going on? This used to be a family drama. Like, this is insane. Anyway, he's someone that has been able to like continue a quiet career, I think.
He was in the 2010 hit Mega Shark versus Krakosaurus.
Oh, he was.
Apparently.
I didn't know that.
I just found this out by Googling Jaleel White. Though apparently he's also been in every iteration of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes, I read that as well. He has voiced Sonic the Hedgehog in a number of cartoons. He also played himself in an episode of Teen Titans Go. And making, it was very funny. He made plenty of references to the character of Steve Urkel. Just funny that like he's not so trying to escape it that he won't reference the fact that it's part of who he is. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny that he's able to acknowledge it. But he's been able to keep working, but also, in the background a little bit, and get away from people saying, hey, aren't you Steve Urkel? Which I'm sure he hated for a long time in his life. Okay, so he's in it. So we get that it's coming out November, December. That's the first time we've heard a release time frame, I believe, for Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. I know we had heard this year, and that was
this year, and I guess I was assuming fall because we know Ahsoka is going to be this summer, although we don't have a date for that yet either.
August something?
Is it August?
Did
we get a date for it? I just thought it was like this summer. I didn't think we had a date, but I could be wrong.
Every time.
I
spell Ahsoka with the S and H screwed up
me too.
Time.
Yeah. A-H-S-O.
Yeah, we've just gotten August.
August. Okay. So August. So that's plenty of time for me to finish my Rebels rewatch. Or for you, listener, to start yours. Watch Star Wars Rebels starting today.
Yeah.
And get ready for Ahsoka coming out in August.
And you will enjoy it.
Highly recommend.
Yes.
You will not regret it. It's incredible. Some of the best Star Wars that's out there. Highly recommend Star Wars Rebels. We've talked about it in the show a bunch. So anyway, November, December for Skeleton Crew. Also, he's playing a pirate.
Okay.
Do we think Hondo Onaka is going to be in this show?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think you just saw, if anybody was watching.
Yeah, did you see Steve's face light up with pure joy? Like, it was like a slow smile, slow reveal of a smile.
It's like, wait, oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, live action Hondo would be absolutely amazing and
Yeah.
fit the time period, I would assume. So
Yeah, it definitely would because
oh yeah, if
I
we're coming
mean,
right out of Rebels, then yeah,
yeah, because this takes place in the post Return of the Jedi period,
right. They've mentioned this
and
all in that same, all of the Filoniverse kind of
yeah,
occurring in
same timeline
its
as Mando,
timeline.
same timeline as Ahsoka. It's like it's all in there. And I mean, spoiler, this is a very small spoiler, but if anyone out there has gone to Galaxy's Edge, and the quote unquote timeline of Galaxy's Edge takes place between um The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, which is like 30 years after the time that we're talking about now with Skeleton Crew and Mandalorian. Hondo Ohnaka is alive during that time period.
Nice.
So he's certainly alive now. So that'd be cool. Hondo shows up in Rebels a lot. He's in Clone Wars
Oh,
a bunch too, but
that
he
would
also
also
shows up in
track.
Rebels.
That would also track how much makeup he had to put on.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But I don't think Jaleel White is gonna play
No,
Hondo
but
though. I think
one of the crew.
I only say that because if if they're gonna bring Hondo Ohnaka to live action, they should get the guy that does that voice because that I don't remember his name, Jim something maybe, but um Hondo's voice is like so
Yeah.
distinct, I think.
Yeah. No, and I mean, yeah. I mean, any of the like he's got a bunch of people in that crew, all of which are alien of
Yeah.
one sort or another. Like, I mean, if he's another Weequay like Hondo, then
Weequay. Yeah, I can never remember that species name. Weequay.
that would be those.
Yeah. But I should say how great. I mean, it would be great to see Hondo Ohnaka in live action. We have seen other Weequay pirates in things like Mandalorian.
Mhm.
So it could just be another pirate crew without Hondo. Maybe Jaleel White is the leader of this certain pirate crew, but it doesn't mean that he has anything to do with Hondo Ohnaka.
Oh, I'm now seeing the
Which,
animatronics from Galaxy's Edge, and that's just great.
dude, I wasn't gonna say anything, but you looked it up. Yeah, he's
Well,
got
it's
a big.
if you look up if you Google Hondo's name, it's the first thing that pops up, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh, okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, very incredibly lifelike animatronics. I mean, like all the Disney animatronics of late are just light years away from what they were originally. Like the original Pirates of the Caribbean or anything like that. Like
Yeah,
they just look so lifelike, and including the one of Hondo Ohnaka as you are in line for the Smuggler's Run Millennium Falcon ride. Yeah, then it's cool. Then you get like the stormtroopers walking around outside are like, we're looking for a pilot named Ohnaka. Have you seen him? That kind of stuff. They're like,
yeah,
oh,
he's
okay, they're
right
looking for
there.
him too. Yeah, he's in that ride. Go stand in line for 2 hours. You can get to him. So yeah,
pony up for your Genie Plus. Come on, be nice.
That's right.
Amateur hour. Jeez.
That's right. So Jaleel White in the Star Wars Skeleton Crew coming out this winter, November, December. I'm very excited about this show because I know next to nothing about it other than has to do with kids and stars Jude Law and
yeah,
it's a coming of age kind of style story. Excited, having no idea what to expect at all. But the fact that it doesn't involve any like character that I would have expectations for,
right, or at least that we know of at this point.
Exactly. There's bound to be an Easter egg or a cameo of somebody or some kind. But we shall see. We shall see. Got a pretty interesting report on the DC side of things this week. The report has to deal. The report does deal with the casting for Superman Legacy. We talked about, I think it was last week, how obviously casting a new Superman is a huge deal in Hollywood and in nerddom. No matter how big a fan of Henry Cavill you are, you are still going to be interested to see who is playing Superman moving forward. And I feel like Superman is a character that's been around for so long. Like my mom is going to care about who's playing Superman. You know what I mean?
Right.
And she doesn't go see hardly any of these movies, but she will go see a new Superman movie easily. So Hollywood Reporter is saying that there is a shortlist for actors and actresses. Sorry, I'll just say actors. I want to be a I don't know, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everyone's just an actor. Don't have to separate via gender. Shortlist for actors being cast in Superman Legacy. According to this report, saying the front runner for the role of Clark Kent or Superman.
Whoa,
This guy named. Sorry,
Hold on.
spoiler. Sorry.
Clark Kent is Superman? Really?
I know it's hard to tell with those glasses.
Hey,
Sorry, I'm
really
wearing glasses
threw me.
now. Should I take them off? Do you think you're talking to a stranger?
If
this whole
you
time?
take them
Try
off,
to
it'll be a
remove-
completely different person. I will have no idea who's on the other end of this phone.
David Corenswet, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Corenswet.
I'm normally the name help. I got nothing on this one.
You got nothing on this one. Apparently, the front runner for Clark Kent, that he has moved past the reading phase and is moving into the screen test phase of auditioning. Hollywood Reporter saying that he may be up against one or two other front runners right now, but the only name that we know is David Corenswet. David Corenswet, I only know because I saw him in the movie Pearl, which is a movie I mentioned recently when we were talking about Mia Goth being cast in Blade, because Mia Goth plays a role in these two just excellent horror films, X and Pearl. David Corenswet is in Pearl, and he is a very attractive man. Certainly could be Superman, I think. And I don't remember his performance necessarily in Pearl. I only saw it once, and I was just so blown away by Mia Goth. It was hard to notice anyone else in the movie being good. But I certainly wasn't like, who's this Joker? You know, like he was great in that
held his
movie.
own type thing.
Yeah, I remember him being really good and a good fit for that role. I certainly wasn't looking at him thinking, could this guy be Superman? But I did read a number of people on Twitter say that when they saw, at least one person, someone that works in the industry, saying that when they saw Pearl, they thought, this guy is the hottest guy ever. He should be Superman, was their first thought. So,
I mean, the second image that shows up when you Google his name literally could be like a still out of Smallville.
Oh yeah,
like he's got the sweeping hair and it's very young Clark Kentish.
Right? Yeah, good looking guy.
Yeah.
So I can certainly see him in the role based on like appearance and just seeing his performance in Pearl. And I think it would go along with, Steve, what you and I were talking about, where he's not a complete unknown, but he's been in small enough stuff to avoid the big reaction that somebody like Ben Affleck gets when he's announced as Batman, or Heath Ledger got when he was announced as Joker, things like that.
Yep.
Another actor that has been said to be being rumored for Clark Kent, although so Hollywood Reporter is saying that this guy, Deadline was saying that this actor, I'll just say his name, Nicholas Hoult, who you may know from being Beast in X-Men First Class and the sequels to that movie. He's also in The Great, the show on
phenomenal
Hulu.
in The Great.
What's that?
He's phenomenal in The Great.
He's phenomenal. Yeah, he's a wonderful actor.
Yeah, he was Tolkien in the autobiographical
yes
film too.
Yep. Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. He's in Mad Max Fury Road. He's like that guy that keeps I don't remember his name. But I almost said the guy that keeps spraying himself in the face with chrome, but I feel like a lot of people in that movie do that.
That narrows it down a ton, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, I know, yeah. So Deadline is saying that Nicholas. Say that again. What?
And he's in Renfield. He's the titular character
That's
in Renfield.
right. Yes, he plays Renfield,
which I really want to see, but I probably won't see in the movies.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about it. I've heard that like when it's good, it's amazing and it's exactly what you want, but there's like other stuff that kind of hold it down a little bit. But that Nicolas Cage is incredible as Dracula, which is to be expected.
Yeah.
So Deadline is saying that Nicholas Hoult is up for the role of Clark Kent. Hollywood Reporter is saying that Nicholas Hoult is up for the role of Lex Luthor, which I think he'd be a way better fit for
Mhm.
Lex Luthor than for Superman. Again,
100%.
I think this guy is a great actor. And also he was the runner-up for Batman in the Matt Reeves Batman. He lost the role to Robert Pattinson. So I think in that Matt Reeves version, I think he would have been a good Bruce Wayne, but it's hard for me to see anybody else other than Robert Pattinson now.
Yeah.
That I've seen that movie a bunch.
Which is funny because going into it, a lot of people were, myself included, were worried about Pattinson.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, is it going to work? And then that came out and it was like, yes, it works.
And I'm sure Nicholas Hoult would have been great in that role.
Yeah.
And I would have been saying the same thing. I would have been like, I don't know if I can see Robert Pattinson because Nick Holt's so good. But it's weird to me that the same guy can be the runner-up for Batman and then also, 3 years later in talks to play Superman. I don't know. I mean, who knows? This could be a different tone or whatever. And he's a versatile actor for sure.
Yeah, he's shown a lot of range, but
yeah. But like we're saying, from what I've seen him in, I feel like he could be a really menacing Lex Luthor. I feel like he's good at playing like a wormy guy that you don't like, that you love to hate. He's like a good I love to hate you. I mean, based on his role in The Great more than anything else, I think he's good at that. So that would be interesting. And apparently also there is a short list for actors being considered for Lois Lane. Of course, can't make a Superman movie without Lois Lane. And those actors' names are Emma Mackey, one of the stars of Sex Education, a Netflix show. Phoebe Dynevor from Bridgerton. Samara Weaving from a number of horror movies, including Ready or Not and The Babysitter. And Rachel Brosnahan from The Marvelous Ms. Maisel. Brosnahan is said to have given a, quote, outstanding audition for the role. However, there is speculation that I guess she's in her 30s and James Gunn said that he's going younger. So is somebody in their 30s too old? I want to go on record right now and saying I don't think so. And I think Rachel Brosnahan would be incredible as Lois Lane based on her work in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel alone. I think she would be incredible as Lois Lane.
She was, just to clarify, because I don't know, she was the titular character in said show, correct?
Correct. She plays the title role.
Then yes, I agree with your statement.
So, did you ever watch House of Cards?
No.
Okay.
Heard
she
good
played
things.
a minor character. Heard good things before Kevin Spacey turned out to be
literally yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh, I should get around to one. No, never mind.
Yeah, I didn't watch the last season of that show, which he wasn't even in because I just didn't. It was just too gross already. She plays a radically different character in House of Cards, a minor character. But it took me a while. It took me 3 seasons of watching Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It was the same actress. Like that's how good of an actress she is. I think she can do anything. And I think if you're going for a, fast talking, take no bullshit version of Lois Lane, I mean, which you should, because that's the character, I think she would be incredible in that role. Who is...
I had to look up the other 3.
I think
I have no idea who any of them are. I just realized Samara Weaving is Hugo Weaving's niece.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
She's great. She was just in Scream 6 also. She had a small role in that, which was cool. She's an Australian actress. She's really good. Ready or Not is a really fun horror comedy almost. Definitely worth watching.
Nice.
If you're into that kind of thing.
She was also in the first season of Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Samara Weaving was?
Apparently.
Who was she in that? I watched that show.
These things I don't know. Show. Let's see. There's this.
Check it out.
There's this list of credits. I should probably use that to give you your answer. She was Heather, a recurring role as Heather in Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
No idea. I'll have to rewatch. No idea.
Yeah, I literally am looking through this list and have not seen a single thing she's been in. So that would be why I have no idea who they are.
Right.
Although Bill and Ted Face the Music as well, which I did not see.
Oh, nice. I didn't see that either. I would still like to.
Yeah.
But I just haven't.
That was a very, seminal childhood movie. Well, both of them.
Yeah, for sure. Someone else I saw. This was not part of the report, but somebody on Twitter suggested the actress Jessica Henwick for Lois Lane. She was Colleen Wing in Iron Fist.
Okay.
And she was Bugs in The Matrix Resurrection. She was Peg in Glass Onion, the assistant in Glass Onion Knives Out mystery. I think she would be excellent.
One of the few things that didn't suck in Iron Fist.
Yeah, the only thing. I think she was
probably
not the only thing. I think she'd be great, but she's not on the shortlist necessarily. But
she was also Nymeria Sand in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and she was a X-wing pilot in 2 of the 3 sequels, I believe. She's in Force Awakens and Last Jedi. I think she dies in Last Jedi. Spoiler alert. Steve, this is a very random question, but I mentioned she played an X-wing pilot that died, and it made me think of a question that sometimes I listen to the podcast Star Wars Minute.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a big Star Wars fan out there, these are 2 guys that go through every Star Wars movie 1 minute at a time, and they talk about what's going on in that minute. Obviously, the conversation goes on to other Star Wars related things. They are currently in their season on The Rise of Skywalker, so you have plenty of episodes to go dive into if you want to. Check out Star Wars Minute. This question comes up. They ask their guests this every once in a while, and I'm going to ask Steve, if you were to be cast in a Star Wars movie, but not as a lead role, you're like a cameo or, a couple lines max, what do you want to be? Would you be like a Jedi? Would you be an Imperial officer? Would you be an alien so no one can see your face? Would you be a rebel? Like, what would you want to be in a background character or like a small role in a Star Wars movie?
I think what triggered you to think about that is spot on. Like,
yes, that's what I want to.
Definitely starfighter pilot of some sort.
I want to be a rebel pilot and I want to blow up. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
I want one of those.
Yep.
Scenes. Be excellent.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would also not blow up if I had the opportunity to be the wedge of like a trilogy and just keep appearing in all of them. Like I would do that too. That would be great. I think it's.
But if I'm going out, I'm going out in a ball of fire.
Exactly. If I'm going out being shot by a TIE fighter or flying into a wall or something. That's what I want.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I guess that's Steve. Do you have any thoughts on the Superman casting? Do you like any of these people? Do you not like any of these people?
No, I mean, they all seem like they'll be fine choices. Whoever they end up with. I mean,
yeah.
Cornsweet looks the part. Holt, like you said, like the Luther thing would be perfect if that works out. But I definitely don't see him as, the titular character.
I know. I would have a hard time seeing Nicholas Holt as Superman. I could see him as so many villains, though. Like I could see him as Brainiac. I could see him as Luther. Yeah.
The real question, though, is who's Jimmy Olsen?
Yeah. I don't know. And if I mean, I guess normally Jimmy Olsen is portrayed as being Kent, and if we're getting like how young, like when James Gunn said part of the reason that they weren't going Henry Cavill was that they were going, but like how young is he talking about? Because he's also said that we're not getting an origin story, and it's not going to be like teenage Clark Kent in Smallville. He's already going to be working at the Daily Planet, so he's like minimally in his mid to late 20s, I think.
Yeah,
like minimum. So he could easily be 30 or being played by someone that's 30. So I don't know. If we're getting, my point was if we're getting a young Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen is normally portrayed as being slightly younger than Clark Kent, how young can you go with Clark Kent before you're like, yeah, Jimmy's 15. You don't want that.
No, but if like you said, if they go mid to late 20s and Jimmy's the the Greenhorn straight out of Newhouse, then we should
Yeah.
be that I feel like that might be enough of a gap.
Yeah, it could work. It could work. James Gunn's also apparently been hinting or teasing or joking about putting Crypto the Superdog in the movie, which would be cool. Because I'm sure he would do it. He would do it in a way that makes sense. This guy can put raccoons in trees and talking sharks
True.
in movies and have us buy it. So I don't think anyone would have trouble with the Superdog.
No, and after having
Moving-
watched finally the League of Super Pets, I'm all in
Yeah.
on Crypto now.
Yeah, Crypto. I think the last season of Titans just ended on HBO. I haven't watched it yet. I started watching it and I haven't finished it, so I got to finish it. But Crypto is a character in Titans, and as up and down as that show can be, there is a great fight scene with Superboy and Crypto in, I want to say, season 2 that is awesome. Like, you just, like, I've said before, like, that show is, to me is just,
I know where you're talking.
yeah, it's just like a show that seems to work bend over backwards to not fully embrace the characters and not really have them use their powers, or so they can save the budget or whatever. But this one scene, it's like Superboy and Crypto taking out an army or something, and you get to see like Crypto uses heat vision and like catches a grenade and throws it back at somebody with his mouth. It's just like, it's amazing, and it works. Like,
Yeah.
I completely bought watching a dog shoot lasers out of its eyes, even though it looked crazy, but it also looked awesome. I was like, this is great. This is exactly what it should be. So I don't know, if Titans can do it and pull it off, James Gunn can certainly do it. And speaking of things that I would say have to be quote unquote pulled off as opposed to easily executed. Something we've mentioned a couple times on this show, but not really talked about too in depth. Beetlejuice 2 is a thing that is happening. It was rumored for a while, and we started hearing some casting. It is certainly moving forward. Beetlejuice 2 added to its cast Willem Dafoe, noted wonderful actor, something of a scientist himself. Willem Dafoe is joining the cast of
Bravo,
Beetlejuice.
sir.
Thanks. Just came into my head. He is joining other Beetlejuice newcomers, Jenna Ortega, who is set to star as the daughter of Lydia Dietz, Winona Ryder's character from the first movie. Jenna Ortega, Monica Bellucci, and Justin Theroux have all joined the cast of Beetlejuice 2. Alongside returning cast members Michael Keaton, obviously, and I didn't realize until I read this article, but Catherine O'Hara also returning as her role from the first Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Who I love Catherine O'Hara. I'll watch anything that she does, so I'm glad that she's coming back. And of course, this will be also directed by Tim Burton, who directed the first one as well. Willem Dafoe is reportedly playing some kind of dead law enforcement officer, or like a law enforcement officer in the afterlife, that the world of the afterlife that we see in the first movie. This movie is set to come out September 6th, 2024. So a little over 2 years. A little over a year, I guess I should say, out from Beetlejuice 2.
So Michael Keaton's just reliving the 80s at this point, right?
Hey, if Harrison Ford can go on a farewell tour of his famous characters, then so can Michael Keaton. Why not?
Absolutely.
Why not? When are we getting a Multiplicity 2? Right? When are we getting Mr. Mom 2?
I would love Multiplicity too. That movie was irrationally better than it should have been.
Yeah, I remember thinking that movie was really funny. I feel like watching it now, I'd probably think it was problematic.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it would not hold up at all. But
I'm sure it would not hold up.
I'm
sure the effects wouldn't hold up. Probably.
Oh no, and the whole Steve character.
Yeah,
not great.
Not great.
Some great one-liners. Not great overall.
Not great overall. But anyway, I think the first Beetlejuice movie is great. I haven't seen it in a long time. I should sit down and watch it again. The last time it's been years since I saw it. I remember seeing it as a kid and thinking, this movie's awesome. And I saw it as an adult, and I was like, this movie's awesome, but it's also just weird as hell. Like, I can't believe this movie exists. It's so strange. It's so bonkers. How did a studio greenlight this movie? Like, it's just so crazy. And it's just must have been the fact that Tim Burton was hot off of Batman. That they were like, you can do whatever you want. He's like,
Right.
I want to make a weird ass movie about dead people hiring a different dead guy to scare people out of their house. And Michael Keaton's coming with me again. And it's just such a strange movie. Everything about it is weird. It's like, when I think of like a Tim Burton aesthetic, I think of Beetlejuice and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Or
But
throw in a
or
side
what?
of Edward Scissorhands in there too.
Oh, sure, Scissorhands. Yeah, of course.
I mean, that look at that stretch. I just pulled up the filmography for Burton. Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yes.
I mean, that's a
starting
way to
off
kick
with
it
an
off
A
right there.
plus. A plus.
Beetlejuice, and this is subsequent years.
Oh,
Beetlejuice, Batman, Scissorhands.
Beetlejuice came out before Batman?
88, 89, 90.
Oh my God. Wow. I thought Beetlejuice came after Batman.
No, so it was the opposite. Beetlejuice
Wild.
worked for some reason, and then Burton was probably like, I'm doing a Batman movie, and I'm bringing Keaton with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. So how did Beetlejuice get made? I guess Pee-wee's Big Adventure was a hit, so that was probably it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like that was like a underground thing. Like that was a major hit. So
Even after that, you've got Batman
yeah,
Returns.
go from there.
Batman Returns, Ed Wood, Mars Attacks, Sleepy
Yep.
Hollow, Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
Big Fish, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Corpse Bride, Sweeney Todd, Alice in Wonderland, Dark Shadows, Frankenweenie,
Here's where it starts dipping.
Big Eyes, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and then Dumbo, and now Beetlejuice
Dumbo.
2.
Yeah. So definitely some misses in there.
Yeah.
I think like Big Fish was like
That-
was like Oscar nominated, like huge movie, and I think he got an Oscar like that Big Eyes movie. I think got some.
So
Oscar.
Big
as
Fish
well.
did not get nominated for an Academy Award.
It didn't.
His only Academy Award noms were Corpse Bride and Frankenweenie for animated feature.
Big Fish, it got something. It must have gotten nominated for something. Maybe he didn't get nominated.
BAFTA Awards for Best Direction and Best Film.
Wow, it didn't get Best Picture nomination? Oh my God.
No.
Insane. That's crazy to me. I really thought that it did.
Oh, yeah, and for some reason, Nightmare Before Christmas wasn't on that list.
Oh, because he didn't direct it. Everyone thinks
Oh,
he did.
yeah, that's just his directed. Gotcha.
He produced it, but he also put his name above the title, which is kind of a dick move. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, he wrote story and produced it. Did not direct. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of a dick move.
Yeah, it is. Because then the guy who did it, whose name I don't remember right off the top of my head because his name's not above the title. That guy went on to do like James the Giant Peach and like Coraline and like I think he made it Paranorman too. Like all these like great stop motion movies are by the same guy, but he doesn't get the credit because
Henry Selick.
Harry Selick, that's his name.
Yep.
Henry Selick, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize too that Burton produced Cabin Boy, Batman Forever. I, for some reason, did not remember he was the producer on that.
He was going to direct it until he couldn't.
And then we got
do what he wanted to
Schumachered.
do. Yeah, he did.
That was a thing.
I think Tim Burton is somebody who blew up early on and kind of lost his touch a little bit about halfway through that filmography that you read. There's still some ups and downs. Like, I think Sweeney Todd is pretty good. I think it's a little long, and it's certainly got his like vision, and it's like well done, but still not the best. Like no one like. I feel like Dumbo got pretty bad reviews. I feel like more often than not, when I see a Tim Burton movie of late, really since like Sleepy Hollow, to be honest with you, it feels like he's trying too hard to be like late 80s, early 90s Tim Burton.
Right.
And he's like trying to do it too much. So I am a little skeptical of Beetlejuice too, I guess, as I'm going out of the way to I don't know. And because the weirdness and the just insanity of that first movie just seems like it was kind of like a lightning in a bottle situation. Like, how do you recreate that? And if you're not trying to recreate that, what are you trying to recreate that is going to work as well as that, or is going to make me forgive the fact that it doesn't feel like the first movie?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like this is a big swing for everybody, for Tim Burton and studios and everybody involved. Like, it'll make money. People go to see it for sure. It'll make money, but I don't know that it's going to be good.
Right.
I'm worried.
Other tidbits from the Tim Burton catalog that I did not have any clue about was an in-between artist on Lord of the Rings, the 1978 animated version.
Wow, really?
Yep. And then
Awesome.
what really blew my mind, he was an animator on The Fox and the Hound, Tron, and The Black Cauldron.
Oh, I feel like I remember hearing that he worked for he was an animator at Disney for a while, but I never.
Yeah, The Black Cauldron, I feel like, is one of those forgotten Disney animated movies that
I've never seen it. I should watch it
as a kid. It was great.
You were obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That actually both Fox and the Hound and The Black Cauldron were two that I watched repeatedly.
Yeah, Fox and the Hound I saw a bunch. That's a great movie.
Definitively had the VHS of both of those back in the day.
Oh wow. I feel like those are probably worth money. Those big clamshell ones.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Especially something like The Black Cauldron that like probably didn't sell very many.
Yeah, there's probably not too many people that have. I wonder. I still have. My parents kept the Disney movies they bought, so I'm wondering if that is in the stash. Now, literally nobody makes a VCR anymore, so there's no way to play them. But you know,
I'm sure there's a collector out there that has a VCR and is looking for. He's got like all the other Disney VHS.
Just waiting for 1985's The Black Cauldron.
There's one empty spot on that shelf marked Black Cauldron.
Oh, it did come out on DVD as well.
Oh wow, of course. And I'm sure it's available on Disney Plus as well.
Probably.
Tim Burton almost famously sorry, let me start that sentence again. Tim Burton famously almost made a Superman movie starring Nicolas Cage. And if you want to know more about that, a guy that has since passed away but was pretty influential on my desire to be a comic book writer, a guy named John Schnepp, made a movie called The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened? And it's him interviewing writers and producers and people that were involved, including like people like Kevin Smith, who were involved in the making or the pre-production of that movie that never got off the ground. And he actually gets to talk to Tim Burton about it. So Tim Burton is actually in that film.
Oh.
It's very cool. And, for those of you out there who have just, lived all your lives thinking, oh, I heard that this almost happened and I've seen the test footage or I've seen the pictures of Nicolas Cage and it looks terrible and I'm glad they didn't make that movie. You should watch this documentary because it kind of makes me think that movie would have been awesome. It looked pretty awesome. Like he's the famous picture of Nicolas Cage at the test screening, and he's got like super long hair, and he's wearing the Superman suit. Like all nerds have seen that, and they're like, he looks terrible. It's like, yo, that's not the hair. He was filming Con Air at the same time. Like that's the hair that he had for another movie. Like he wasn't gonna have that hair as Clark Kent. It's just what he had when he tried the costume on that day. And that's the photo that got leaked or whatever. So
it would have been great though.
I honestly, after seeing The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, I think so. Seek that movie out if you want to know more about that. And as for Beetlejuice 2, I guess we'll just see what it looks like when we start seeing trailers a year from now. And yeah, I don't know. And
I'm sure we'll be talking about it a lot before then.
Got a cool piece of comic book news. And normally when we talk comic book news, we talk about it industry-wise, like this new creative team is on this book or this company is doing this or whatever. But this is an announcement of an in-universe thing that I just thought was pretty cool. Tom King, noted comic book writer.
Noted, one of the things that often come up when we talk about comic books.
Yeah. Noted most famous writer currently working in comic books, Tom King. is taking over Wonder Woman, mainline Wonder Woman book. I think we talked about that when they announced that a few months ago. This fall, I think he's taking it over. And but coming up, not this week, but next month, he will be introducing Wonder Woman's biological daughter, who goes by the name of Trinity. He's going to debut in a story in Wonder Woman 800, which is coming out soon, and it's like an anthology book. A lot of times when you hit a landmark like that, you get a bunch of creators on one book to tell like short stories within one book. So Wonder Woman 800 is going to be doing that. And she'll be introduced in Wonder Woman 800 and be a big part of his run on the book when he takes it over with artist Daniel Sampier this September. So here comes Wonder Woman's biological daughter. And I think this is cool because, Batman's got the Bat family. Superman's got a super family. And they both have sons, whether they're adopted or biological. Both of those characters have their own offspring. Wonder Woman is a character that I don't think they've ever really capitalized on the number. Like, there's 3 Wonder Girls. Like, Wonder Woman has a Wonder family. You know what I mean? There's other characters in the universe they could do the same thing with, like they've done with like even the Flash or Batman or Superman. But they never have. And I remember reading Gail Simone saying when she was on Wonder Woman, she wanted to do more with like the Wonder Girl characters, and DC didn't want her to. And DC was under different leadership at that time, so things clearly or might have changed. Clearly, maybe they have. But like that was hard. There's one issue of Gail Simone's run where she teams up with Wonder Girl Donna Troy, and she said she had to fight to get Donna Troy to be included in the issue, which is crazy because like why not? She's Wonder Girl. She was Wonder Girl for like a long time. She's in the Titans as Wonder Girl. Like,
right.
Why should it be difficult? And so I think it's great that they're giving her like a biological child. And then I think Tom King said that the story in Wonder Woman 800 is going to be taking place in the future. And then his run will be like the lead up to either her birth or the lead up to her being, growing up or something like that. We'll have more to do with her development as a human being. So I'm excited about this, but it also kind of makes me feel like, how many Wonder Girls do we need? And I know that's hypocritical of me when I just love every, all 300 members of the Bat family.
Right.
But also like, we got 3 Wonder Girls. There's Donna Troy, Cassie, I can't remember her last name, and Yara Flor, and now we're getting Trinity. So that would be, and I know I don't know if Trinity is her actual name or Trinity is her like superhero name, but anyway, that's be like 4 Wonder Girls. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense that they're all women. I love that. But I hope that they can give Wonder Woman like more legacy characters and utilize them in a way that kind of like builds out her world a little bit more than they ever have.
Did you see the quote from King about when they came up with the idea?
Yes, I did. That they were it was going to be like a Robin and Boy are babysitting Mr. Miracle's
John Kent and Damian Wayne babysitting.
And then they were but he was like, but the dynamic should be that the 2 boys are looking after a young girl. That would be a better dynamic. And then he couldn't stop thinking about it until it should be Wonder Woman's daughter is what he said. And then once he had that idea, he couldn't stop thinking about it until now he's getting the chance to do it when he is going to be the writer on Wonder Woman moving forward. And I think I'm going to at least pick up the first few issues of that book. Absolutely. And then probably wait for the trade for the whole thing. But, and he said in talking about it, if you asked me, I want to start reading Batman, what should I read? Or I want to get into Superman, what should I read? I know exactly what books to tell you. But if you say I want to get into Wonder Woman, what do I read? I'm like, well, you could start here. You could try to find Gail Simone's run, but like there's no definitive.
Yeah.
It's harder to name a definitive run on Wonder Woman, or definitive story. You know what I mean? Like, you can name 100. I could name 50 for Batman probably right now, or
Right.
Superman. You know, like Year One, Dark Knight Returns, Hush. You know, there's so many, but there's not like a really definitive story for Wonder Woman. And Tom King said that's what we're trying. We're trying to give her one of those, like an all time story, which is he's setting the bar pretty high for himself, I guess. You know, because she's a character that's been written constantly for over 80 years.
Yeah.
He's got some shoes to fill there, but he's also Tom King. So this week in your local comic book store, you're looking at Avengers #1, Batgirls #18, Batman Superman World's Finest #15, Batman the Brave and the Bold #1. Speaking of Tom King and Mitch Gerrards have a story in Batman Brave and the Bold #1. Definitely be picking that up. Captain America Sentinel of Liberty #12, Catwoman 55, Cyborg #1. That's another Dawn of DC book coming out this week. Dark Spaces Good Deeds #1, Elvira in Monsterland #1, Fantastic Four #7, Flash #799, Guardians of the Galaxy #2, Hulk Annual #1, Ice Cream Man #35, Last Barbarians #4, Mighty Barbarians #2. I have no idea if those titles are related, but I put on one barbarian. I had to put, yeah, whole lot of them. Miles Morales Spider-Man #6, Mosley #4, No One #3, Planet of the Apes #2, Apes, not monkeys, Predator #3, Red Goblin #4, She-Hulk #13, Sonic the Hedgehog #60, Spider-Man #7, Star Trek #8, Star Wars Bounty Hunters #34, Superboy, The Man of Tomorrow #2, Superman #4, Titans #1. 3 Dawn of DC books coming out this week. Titans is the new book from Tom Taylor. Titans taking over for the disbanded Justice League of America. Tomorrow Girl #1, Venom #19, Wonder Woman #799, X-Force #40, X-Men #22.
Apparently,
Lots of cool stuff.
DC only deals in writers named Tom.
There is a running gag of people mistaking Tom Taylor for Tom King and Tom Taylor.
When you first got me into DC, I was one of those people.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, this Tom guy's great. Oh, Jesus, which one?
Yeah. I followed them both on Twitter, and for a while, Tom King's profile picture was a picture of him wearing like a certain hat, like a sports team or something.
I think it might still be.
And it might still be. And then for a while, as a joke, Tom Taylor took a picture of himself wearing a very similar hat and made it his profile picture to make it even more.
That's great.
And anytime like an article says like, you know, Tom Taylor's run on Mr. Miracle or something, or Tom King writing Nightwing or tag each other or share each other. It's a whole thing that people forget about.
Yeah. Tom King's rocking the DC hat.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, but because they're both exclusive to DC, I believe.
Whereas Tom Taylor's rocking a Skelly cap. So
Australian that he is.
From Melbourne.
Steve.
Learned something today.
Melbourne. Reading anything? Looking forward to reading anything?
No, I think we talked about grabbing the white whale from Funky Town last week.
Yep. Star Wars,
That was a good hit.
Are you going to read it, or are you just gonna keep it in the bag?
Probably just keep it in a bag.
Yeah. It would be cool to read, though.
It would be. So, I don't know.
Mm.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see. Yeah.
No, beyond that, just caught up with High Republic and something else over there that I can't remember what I read.
Nice.
It was early in the week, so, you know, there's at least multiple days in between then and now.
Nice. Yeah. Always hard to remember. I know I'm caught up on Poison Ivy and I'm caught up on Batman. I still got to catch up on Something is Killing the Children and then dive into, you know, copious amounts of graphic novels that I have bought and not read.
Mm-hmm.
But
see those back there?
You know. Yeah. I sure do. I got a similar stack. Actually, you know what? I put mine all in the shelf, but the ones that I haven't read yet, I pull out so they're like sticking out from the rest of them. So I know, like, okay, I got to read that.
Right now, I think
until I get too overwhelmed, until there's more sticking out than are pushed back, and then I have to push them all back so I can not drive myself crazy.
over there, I think it's just Rorschach and Strange Adventures.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I have
dude.
the Superwoman.
Speaking of Tom King.
Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow over there that I had started and did the standard start it and then start something else and then start something else and
Yeah,
I'll
same.
get back there someday.
I
was
did just
great.
finish volume 5 of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
Nice.
So I got this. Part of me wants to just jump right into number 6 and finally finish that his run on that. But part of me wants to jump into something else.
Yeah.
Save it for a little bit. So I'll have to see. Could be Woman of Tomorrow. Could be From Hell. I think for Christmas, but I haven't read yet.
Nice.
You know. Lot to choose from. Or another volume of Sandman. So much out there. Never stopping. Steve, we have one shot for the evening. Would you like to do the honors?
Sure. We've all talked about how Marvel movies have been underperforming since COVID. Well, since a while now and don't quite have the same panache, but apparently Guardians 3 has some of that panache as it was the smallest drop for a second week of a Marvel movie since the COVID era.
Wow.
At a drop of only minus 49%, which is actually quite good.
Quite good.
So it is up to 212 million domestic box. I'm not sure what the global is, but
yeah, I don't know either. But both last other two big comic book movies that came out recently, Ant-Man, Quantumania, Shazam, Fear of the Gods, both had bigger drop-offs, like 60 or 70%. I think both those movies. So less than 50, even if it's 49, is pretty good because that means that every big Marvel fan went to see that weekend one. Some casual fans went to see it. Some casual fans went this weekend, but they're still going. And it has everything to do with the fact that it's great. I think,
right, that it's just a good movie.
People hear Ant-Man is meh or Shazam is meh, and then they're like, okay.
Yeah, well,
But
for perspective,
this movie's great.
Yeah, for perspective, Quantumania dropped off 70%.
Right.
So,
yeah. Wow.
Guardians 3 is currently 528 million global, 213 domestic. Great. So,
wow. Yeah, this is gonna have some legs, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Good for it, and it's good. It's coming out early. Like I've said a few times, there's a bunch of stuff coming out this summer that I want to see, and some of it is, I think like Indiana Jones comes out like a week after the Flash, or like 2 weeks after the Flash. Like that's a crowded month right there.
Yeah.
So
well, and follow that up with what else? What else is right there? We literally just went through this at the beginning of the pod, or prior to.
Yeah.
There's like Blue Beetles in August. Like there's
Mission Impossible is in July. Like
there's a
Ninja Turtles.
A lot happening.
There's a lot going on this summer.
Speaking of things that went on this summer.
Yeah.
Here, let's give me a wild stab at what you think the current box office global for Super Mario Brothers is.
Oh, jeez. $800 million.
Bum bum ba bum. 1.21 billion.
Oh, it did hit $1 billion. I hadn't heard that it hit.
It's $1.25 billion now.
Man.
And it was still number 2 this week behind Guardians.
And you know what? Both of those movies, like it's mid-May right now. Another 2 weekends till Memorial Day weekend. People are gonna be going to both those movies. They're gonna pick up. They're gonna pick up a bunch of money that weekend too.
Oh yeah.
So very smart for Guardians to come out now. A little bit ahead of the glut of live-action hero movies we're about to get. Again, I'm not complaining.
Part of me wants to go see Mario Brothers. So.
Yeah, Mario Brothers. It's wild. I mean, it's not wild because it's one of the most popular intellectual properties of all time, and finally gets a movie, a movie that looks like the character because it's animated and not live action. So, and it's kid friendly. So, instead of You know, instead of just me going to see it and buying one ticket, I bought 3, one for my wife and one for my kid. You know, so like families are going to see this movie, not just, you know, couples or not just nerds
Yeah.
by themselves. So
I know yeah. No, it's what was it? I missed it, but my wife, my son, his friend, and his parents all went.
yeah. Yeah.
It's just
But
like, yeah.
Steve, it's like you and I have been saying for like a long time. If they made, and like I just read that like Across the Spider-Verse is predicted to have like to make like hundreds of millions of dollars opening weekend, like possibly
Oh, yeah.
$600 or $800 million in the opening weekend. And like Warner Brothers, Marvel, if you make more animated superhero movies, kids are going to go see them. They're just going to make a PG Superman movie the way you're making Spider-Verse movies. Kids are going to go see that 1,000,000 times. You'll make so much money.
Yeah.
So
Very much
we've
so.
been saying it since we've been doing this podcast. We just still haven't listened to us, except Seth Rogen listened to us because he's making Ninja Turtles that way.
It's true.
And that movie's going to make a bunch of money, unless it's bad. That's the other key. You got to make it good.
Right.
You can't just make it a bad superhero movie.
Well, I'm not going to lie.
Gotta make
It
it
doesn't
good.
look bad. So
It does not. It does not. So I think that's all I got. I don't know how long we've been talking. Good length of an episode. We fill some time.
yeah, we're at an hour 16. So
Wow, way more than I thought. Okay, perfect.
not bad for a light
Perfect.
week.
I thought this was going to be like a 45-minuter, but added some great ghostwriter content in the beginning and, you know, padded it right out.
There you go.
Perfect. But I'm all tapped out. That's all I got for the night for sure.
Well, if that's all we've got, then you should probably like and subscribe and, you know, leave us a review on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts,
Apple iTunes, that's what
or
it's called.
Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. Feel free to get a hold of us on any of the socials, multiverseport@gmail.com, multiverseport.com for all of your multiversing needs.
That's right. How we do. Oh, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
He had something else to say. But he doesn't. So until next time, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. And we will see you in the multiverse.